Mind Over Matter, where we feature young Jamaicans who are shooting for the stars. I'm your host, Margaret Boyne. My guest is only 19 years old. She's a former head girl at the Convent of Mercy Academy, Alpha. She's a freshman at the University of the West Indies, where she's pursuing a degree in software engineering. Her journey to university wasn't an easy one. She had to undergo a learning assessment to evaluate whether she could even sit the GSAT examinations. How did she move from underperforming to copying passes in math, physics, chemistry, pure math, and computer science? We find out. My guest is Kaela Calvert. Welcome to Mind Over Matter, Kaela.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you this
year. Yeah, man, it's great having you. You're presently a student at the University of the West Indies.
Yes.
What is your major?
My major, so I'm majoring in software engineering and I'm doing a minor in mathematics.
Okay, so how is university? Is it going as you expected?
Well, it's not going as I expected, because I expected going to university, it would be a lot easier than high school. I don't know where I got that from, but that's what I thought. But no, actually going into university, it's a lot like, I use this comparison a lot. It's a lot like preparing for CAPE every single day. So it's very intense. Yes, very, very intense. So if I had to say what it has really been like, yes, it has been like studying for CAPE every single day. So I'm trying to get through it. I'm trying to push through it. But, with God, all things are possible. So.
But software engineering, you always had a love for math?
Yes, I always had, well, no, not for math. For software engineering and for computing, I always wanted to go into that field from, I think it was about fourth form, where I was exposed to IT and I was exposed to the aspect of coding, and I really enjoyed, coding and doing all of that. So I always asked my teacher what subjects would, line me up to go into that career path. Math, on the other hand, I did not like at all, because it was my lowest performing subject. If I'm really being honest, it was my lowest performing subject, throughout in my entire primary school journey. I always just fail math or barely scrape through that pass. So I didn't really like it. I didn't enjoy it. But I think around in second form, third form, throughout that transition period, I actually started to like it and started to appreciate the principles of mathematics. So third form thereabout, I started to love it until right now. I have to do a minor in it because I love it so much. So,
right.
Yes, in third form thereabout, my love started to change for mathematics. So, yes.
But you recently graduated from Alpha. You had leaving with 14 grade 1s and 2 grade 2s at both CSEC and CAPE. But what is remarkable about your achievements, though, Kaela, is that you were considered to be, wanting for a better word, like a slow learner, as we Jamaicans would say.
Yes.
The teachers recommended that an assessment be done to see whether you could even sit GSAT. So tell me about that.
Well, as you mentioned, I was always a slow learner, right? I didn't hit it out of the, blocks of running. As I would say my bigger sister, she was very, she kind of grasped everything a little bit, better than I did. I wasn't as fast, as quick with, all the subjects and the phonics and everything like that. And so, yes, my teachers were concerned. My mother is a teacher, and so she could pick up that moment something is wrong. And so she had a concern. She mentioned it to the teachers. The teachers also had a concern. And so from there, they said that, I think it would be best if she did a learning assessment to really see where she stood, in regards to her academics. So yes, I did a learning assessment, and sure enough, it proved that I wasn't able to perform as well as my peers at that time. And so, I was asked by my principal, Miss Detrifog, at the time, if I wanted to sit the GSAT examinations. And I don't know what it was about me at that time. I think it was maybe my parents and them not, putting me down because I wasn't as fast as my older sister. But I always had this drive and this passion. My friends used to always tease me that I was bossy. That my my situation, right? It didn't stop me from thinking that I could, right? Or I will. My grandmother always says that where there is a will, there is a way. And so I always had that will in me to, push through and to, go for it. What's going to beat a try, right? And so when my principal asked me, I was like, is she asking me? Is she asking me if I really want to sit the exam? That was my reaction. I was like, yes, miss, because I didn't recognize that, I was at this level and, they're concerned. And so I told her yes, and sure enough, they allowed me to sit the exam, but I didn't sit it the normal way, right? I had to be given extra minutes. So I got about 30, right? About 30 minutes extra to sit my exams, but, I passed them, thanks be to God. And, from there on is history. So that's my, journey to success.
But did that affect your self-esteem though, Kaela?
Absolutely not. I don't know what it was, but I was always such a bold person. And, as I was saying, my friends used to call me bossy because I thought that I could do anything. I mean, I was just so bold and brave and just out there. And I mean, nobody could tell me that, Kaela, you cannot do that. You can't. I was never told that by my parents. My parents never told me that, Kaela, you cannot manage that. Do not do number 5 of this problem paper because you cannot manage it. Put it up, and when you go to school, you ask the teacher. They didn't give me that, that response whenever I tried to do something. It was always, yeah, man, you can go and you can do it. And they always, not forced, but they always encouraged me. To do what it is that I want to do. And so because of that, I was always bold and I was always ready to take on a next task. So I wasn't that never
fazed you,
dampened my self-esteem. I was always, such a bold person, had a bold personality all straight through. From when I was a slow student all the way up until right now at university, always a bold person.
Okay. But you mentioned your sister. She was an overachiever.
Yes, man. My sister was she was actually the deputy head girl at same Alpha, right? So she always set the bar. My physics teacher always says Cameron sets the bar and Kaela always raises it. And so, she's a excellent role model. She's my role model. I look to her a lot. Everything she does, I use that as an example to kind of follow in her footsteps, because what she's doing is she's doing amazing things. I mean, she's now at UWI also doing medicine. So, she's one of my role models, and I really look up to her in life, right? So for everything academics, how she speaks, how she, puts herself together, I always look up to her. That's my big sister.
You had to do online school during the pandemic. How was that?
Well, online school, I have a mixed relationship with online school, because I was one of the rare students who actually liked online school. I know that's kind of jaw-dropping to some, right? Yes. But I really enjoyed online school because of my personality. Some persons will say this is my personality, but I'm a very dedicated student. But others put it as dedication, but I put it as an overworker, because I don't really see what goes on behind closed door, and how I always, it's like I can't stop. But because of how I am, online school didn't really stop me from working or studying or anything like that. So I really enjoyed the online platform. So
but
but the transition was.
But how did you prepare for those science subjects though?
The science subjects. So in 5th form, because COVID-19 came when I was in 5th form, and I did exams when we had COVID-19 around, but that was in March. COVID-19 came in March to Jamaica in March, and so I was already preparing to sit my paper 2 exams. So for CSEC, I didn't really have to learn any new strategies in terms of preparing for exams, because I already completed majority of the school year, and so I already had an idea of what to expect. It was just now that I'm doing multiple choice exams. However, for CAPE Unit 1 now is where I had to learn some strategies, how to really navigate the online platform And one of the things that I really learned, on the online platform is that you have to be self-disciplined. If you are not, then the work will slip away from you, and then you will basically not be in control of your schoolwork, and that's something that you never want to happen. Like your schoolwork is controlling you, you're not controlling your schoolwork, right? That's something that you never want to happen to you. And so I had to learn ways to, continue or to be self-disciplined and to, always stay on top of my schoolwork. And so that was one of the ways where I was able to actually sit the Unit 1 examinations, because we were online for that period. That period I was very, concerned, because we were the first set to really sit examinations like that, because the entire school year was online. And so while last year we had majority of it being face-to-face, and then towards the end it was online, for the year that I sat Unit 1, every class, everything was strictly online. We had our labs online, and so for science subjects, that is very practical.
Yes.
And so but we had to do our labs online. We had to find simulations to kind of do our experiments and then document that, and then from that interpret and say what we expect from the results. And so, it was a different feel and environment. And so we had to just learn how to really navigate that and to, always be on top of our schoolwork, as I said.
And not only that, your responsibility as head girl. How were you able to handle all that online? How you kept everybody together?
Okay, so in the year when I was head girl, we transitioned from online to hybrid. And so that was, for me, that was the worst transition ever. I'm not even exaggerating, because online to hybrid, so some days you were at home and other days you were at school. And I know that's the schoolers who had to endure that process can agree with me when I say that. When you reach home, tired, they cannot do any schoolwork. And as I said before, one of the most important things to me as a student is to always keep up on my schoolwork. And because I was, come home and you're so tired, you're exhausted for the day, you can't really do anything. And so that was one of the major concerns that I had. But, being head girl and, taking on that extra responsibility and being the president of, various clubs, it was hard. I'm not going to sit up here and say that it's easy. It was hard, but again, you have to put everything in harmony. I don't like to say balance, because balance to me is that you give 50-50, but some things don't require 50% of your energy. Some things just require 20%, and then you can use the other 80 doing something else. So it's just, trying to ensure that everything is in harmony, and, you just try to push through, persevere. There were a lot of meetings that we had online. We tried to make the school year, because the girls are there too, and you want to allow them, especially the first formers, to have that true high school experience. And so we really try to work hard to ensure that the girls had that experience, but we were also on top of our schoolwork. And so I always thank CXC for pushing me back to 2 weeks. Yes, I was one of those students, thanking CXC, because without that, man,
So when you received your results, all grade ones,
right.
So tell me how you felt about that.
I was so happy. I was so happy, because it's something that I've always worked for. As you read earlier, in CSEC, I got 7 1s and a 2. I got a 2, and then in lower school, I got 3 1s and a 2 1. So a 2 is always in the mix. And when you're working for that straight 1s. And so that was always something that I really, really wanted. And so, as I said in one of the other interviews that I did, I'm a type of student that can never check my results for CSEC, that is, right? So I remember, I was at home by myself on the day, and I was going back and forth throughout the house, waiting for my family to come home so that I could, ask my mother to check the results, because I couldn't, I check the results, but I check it way beyond before I know CXC will post it. If CXC said that they're going to post the results at 5 o'clock, I am going to check at 2 o'clock, but I'm not going to check at 4:30 because I don't want to check at 4:30 and I see that blue and dark blue and white background. I couldn't. And so when my family finally came home and my sister checked it and she said, Kaela, you get 4-1s, you get 4-1s. And then immediately after that, the phone was handed to my mother. Mother was, then my sister, then I was like, what happened? What happened? What happened? Nobody was telling me what I actually got. And so when I finally saw the results, I was extremely happy. I mean, I ran outside, I was shouting, I was excited all over the place. And so, I was really, really, really happy to know that all the hard work that I put in actually finally paid off. Yes, so that was my reaction.
And you're also very active at church. Tell me about that. What are some of the ministries that you serve, or what are some of the things you do at church?
Right. So I do quite a bit at church. I am a junior minister at my church, and my church is the Pentecostal Redeemed Church of God. I love my church family. They're always praying for me, supporting me, and I really, really, really love them. So I'm a junior minister. I am also the assistant vice and assistant youth leader. I am also a member of the MPA team. I sing on the school choir, the dance ministry, drama, whatsoever it is that I can get myself into, really. I'm always a part of it, right?
So like everything.
Yes.
So Kaela, it's possible then to be successful schoolwork and still to do well spiritually.
Yes.
Have they influenced your life, your parents? Tell me about that.
Yes, so I mentioned my sister being one of my role models, but my parents also play a strong role in, my life and how I operate and how I do things, because I look up to them as well as, leaders of the church, leaders of the home, and my parents, right? And so my father, he's a very, 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 very dedicated man to, the things of God, and he always, ensures that God business come first and everything else comes second. And so, how I see him operating and, putting the ministry first is where I also get that from. So I put God first. I want, in anything that I do, I want God to be in it. I don't want to be doing something and God is not in it. And so that's something that I learned from my father. My mother is an excellent woman. She's just an all-rounder. She has taught me so much. I mean, my mother has really helped me. I struggled with math, but I also struggled with phonics. And, my mother being, she was an English teacher. She really helped me, to kind of get the ball rolling with certain things. I had my other teachers, but she really, helped me to move from different levels, right? And so she also, my mother just is the best. She's the best. And she's also one of my, she's just the best. She's one of my role models as well, in everything, the home, her being a wonderful wife, her being a wonderful mother. I mean, she's just that mom. She's just that mom. So yes, my parents really play a vital role in my development, and I really appreciate them. They're always supporting me. I could go on and on and on and on and on and talk about my parents, because I mean, the support is 100%. And as I said before, they've never told me that I cannot do something. And I really, really appreciate that, about them, that they have never stopped me or even my sisters from doing something that we really wanted. So if it's choir, go ahead. If it's badminton, go ahead. If it's dancing, go ahead. They're not going to say, no, you cannot. You cannot. That's never something that my parents say, unless it's something that we're going to danger ourselves with. But, otherwise from that, you can.
Yes. So what would you say motivates you?
Motivates me? My parents, again, motivates me, the time, the effort, the money, because, the money has to be there, right? The money that they put into, right? The money that they put into our education. I feel like I owe them every single thing. And so that is why I always try to get 100%, give 100% in anything that I do, because I know that my parents are giving me 100% of their support, and they're behind me financially 100%. And so I think it would be unfair if I slack off or say, 60% is good enough, because they are giving me 100%, and I think that it's only fair to reward them or to give them back 100%. So,
and I don't think that they're rich people either.
I really appreciate that from them, because they've always stood behind me and my sisters, and it's not just one of us, it's not just me alone. My sister is doing medicine, and medicine
and
school fees.
That, yes.
And then I am also in university, and university school is not cheap. And then my sister, my younger sister, she's in high school, and they also have to be paying for her, and lunch money, everything. It's a lot, but they've always supported us, as I said before.
I think recently on social media I saw a pic of you with surrounded by a whole lot of trophies. How many trophies?
So if I'm counting the awards, it was 5. I got 5 awards, but my school, how they do it is actually they give you a big award, and then they give you a smaller award so that you can take that home with you. So that's what they do. So in total, I got 5 awards. I got an award for mathematics, excellence in math. I got an award for spirituality. I got an award for outstanding performance in CAPE. I got the principal award, and I got the leadership award.
Okay.
So those were the 5 that I received at prize.
All right. What would you say, Kaela, are some of the most important strategies that is necessary for someone to achieve the standard of excellence that you have?
Well, as I'm going to say again, always put God first. Always pray. In everything that you do, include God in it, and He will sort out everything else, right? So that's the one. Also, for my students, study hard. Do not procrastinate, right? Always remain on top of your schoolwork. Always, try to be doing something every chance you get. Do not procrastinate, because procrastinator is not your friend. Procrastinating is actually an enemy. So don't think that you do things better when you procrastinate or when you leave things for last minute, right? Always ensure that you do your work when you have the time, right? So that's what I have to say, because you never know when something could happen in the last minute and you're unable to do it, right? And that's something that you want to avoid as a student. Also, to take breaks, and this is something that I'm actually learning myself, to take breaks. Take the time to rest, to sleep, to watch a movie. Yes, you have to take breaks to, refresh yourself. So take breaks. And lastly, learn from your mistakes. Do not repeat the same thing again. My mother always says that if somebody is driving and them dropping a pothole, or them tell you that that's the area that they're dropping a pothole, and you're not going to drive there. So you must learn from your mistakes and learn from others' mistakes as well, so that you don't have to, bear the repercussions or the consequences that person had to bear. So those are just a few things that I hope you will take with you, and God's willing, you'll become successful, or you excel in whatsoever avenue that you set out to.
So I just want to tell you thanks, Kaela, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And it was a pleasure talking to you. And I'm sure, I don't know, I'm going to hear a lot more about you. I'm sure after you finish your degree, you're going to go on to master's, PhD. I see you doing all of that.
Wow.
Yes. And all the best with everything that you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Students, stay on top of your school, and remember that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you.